isCOBOL Server's Administrators panel has a field called User Information. You can pass information here from both the thin client and the web client. And this video is going to go over how to display that. We're going to use a hook program so you don't have to change any application code. Now, a hook program is a program that's called before every client connection request is processed and after every client connection exits. There are a lot of things that you can do with the hook program, but we're going to use it to set some user information for the panel to display it with a user info set. Now, you can gather information for the panel's user information area from a variety of sources, including these 6 properties on the left that are set automatically, as well as variables set in the properties file, information from library routines, etc. Now, note that the path to the hook program must be in the class path, not the code prefix. Now, we're going to use $UserInfo. Any library routine that starts with an A is specific to the application server. We're going to use $UserInfo to store a string of information about a client connection, to get that string with $UserInfoGet, and to clear that information out with $UserInfoClear. So let's get started. Let's start by taking a look at the hook program. I've called it myhook2. You can see I'm calling $UserInfo with get to see if there's any information out there already. If there isn't, then that means that the client is connecting, and I can gather up the information that I need and put it into the variable WSInfo, and then I'll call $UserInfo to set it. If there is something in WSInfo, then the client is disconnecting, and so I come down here and I clear that information away. So here's where I'm picking up the information. First, I'm getting information from 2 of the integrated variables in the application server. One is the username, and one is the arguments that were passed on the command line. I'm also getting the company name from each of my fictional companies from their properties file. I have a variable in the properties file called myComp. And finally, I'm getting the user's time zone from the current machine with $getEnvironment. So I put all that together into WSInfo, and again, I set it with the AUserInfo set. And then when I start the application server, I'm going to start it with this properties file, and you can see that I've set isCOBOL.as.hook to the myhook2 program. And that's how the application server knows that it has a hook program that it needs to call before and after the client connects. And here are my 3 companies, and here's my myComp variable. And in the first one, I'm setting a log file information so we can look at the log file. But we have ABC properties, Acme, and International. So let's start the server now. I'm in my application folder, and I have my 3 client properties files and my server properties files. The program that we're going to run is clock, and it uses progress. And here's the myhook program. So we'll start in passing my server properties, and it's listening. Next, I'm going to start the panel. So I'm going to start my panel with my host name. I have the username and password on the command line, and then the -panel to start the panel. So here's the panel. I didn't start the panel with any arguments or any of this information available. It's just the panel. So let's connect one of the clients. We'll start with ABC. So here's my abc.properties. Here's the name of my program, and I'm passing 3 arguments. Here's my little clock program. Let's go back to the panel, and I'm going to refresh. All right, now we see our clock. The user, my username in this computer is user. Here's my arguments that I passed. Here's the contents of the properties file with myComp, and I'm in the Los Angeles time zone. So I'm going to do some more connections. So now I have 3 companies, fictional companies, running. In each of them, we can get the username, the arguments that were passed, the company name that was in the properties file, and the time zone. And of course, you can put any information that you want here. And as I said, it works with both the thin client and the web client. Let's go take a look at the trace file and see what happened. So here's that trace file, passed all of the configuration right down to what was happening. A request came in to run the clock program, but first it ran myHook, got the variables that it needed here, and then it ran clock. When it exited clock, before it was done, it went to myHook 2 again. And there's how you can get additional information in your administrator's panel to manage the application server's connections, whether they come from Thin Client or from the Web Client. I hope you give it a try. If you have any questions, you can reach us at support@variant.com or the information on the screen. Thank you.